Today we are learning about skeleton system of human. The human skeleton is the internal framework of the human body. It is composed of around 270 bones at birth. This total decreases of around 206 bones by adulthood after some bones get fused together. It consists of bones and connective tissue including cartilage, tendons and ligaments. It's also called the musculoskeletal system. The human skeleton is divided into two divisions. One is axial skeleton, another is the appendicular skeleton. We will discuss these divisions later. Now talking about functions of bones. It gives the body its shape, provides protections of soft organs, and allows movement due to attached skeletal muscles, and stores minerals and makes blood cells formation. Without bones, we would have no structure frame for our skeleton, be unable to move our skeleton, leave our internal organs poorly protected, lack blood and be short on calcium. So, bones are very important for our body structure and our skeleton system. The skeleton has 206 bones and has two basic types of bone tissue. One is compact bone, which is homogeneous, and another is the spongy bone, which is small needle-like pieces of bone and many open spaces. Spongy bone present the internal side and compact bone present the external side or external part. Now talking about the classification of bones. Bones are classified by their shape. One is long bones. It is typically longer than wide and have a shaft with heads at both ends, upper ends and lower end, and contain mostly compact bone. As example, femur and humerus. Femur is the thigh bone and humerus is the arm bone. Gross anatomy of a long bone. Diaphysis and epiphysis. Diaphysis, the shaft of the long bone which is composed of compact bone. Epiphysis, the ends of the bone which is composed mostly of spongy bone. It is the long bone. The upper end is spongy bone and also the lower part is the lower end is spongy bone, and at the shaft it is composed of compact bone. Number 2 or second is the sword bones. It is generally cube shape and contain mostly spongy bone. As examples, carpals and tarsal bones. Carpal bones are present at the hand and tarsal bones are present at the foot. Third is flat bones, which is thin and flattened and usually curved. Thin layer of compact bone around a layer of spongy bone. As example, skull, ribs, sternum is the example of the flat bones. And last is the irregular bones. It is totally irregular bones, irregular shapes, because it is not long and not short, and do not fit into other bone classification categories. As example, vertebra and hip bones. Talking about the divisions of the human skeleton. We have already read that the human skeleton is divided into two parts or two divisions. We will now discuss about this part or divisions. At first, the axial skeleton. Axial skeleton is made up of the 80 bones within the central core of the human body. This includes bones in the humans that skull, vertebra, sternum, ribcage, and ear ossicles. Skull. The skull is a bony structure that supports the face and forms a protective cavity for the brain. The bones of the skull can be considered as two groups, those of the cranium and those of the face. Cranium bones are series of flat bones united to each other by the interlocking or overlapping suture forming a cavity. They consist of 8 bones. One frontal bone, one occipital bone, one sphenoid bone, and one ethmoid bone, and 2 parietal bones and 2 temporal bones. Superior view of the skull. This is the frontal bone, this is 2 parietal bone, and this is the occipital bone. Facial bones are the irregular bones forming the bony framework of the face. They total 14. 2 nasal bones, 2 maxillar bones, 2 zygomatic bones, 2 palatine bones, 2 inferior lacrimal bones, 2 nasal conchae bones, and 1 vomer and 1 mandible bone. This is the 2 palatine bones. Next is the vertebral column. The vertebral column is a series of approximately 33 bones called vertebra, which are separated by the intervertebral disc. The column can be divided into 5 different regions, with each region characterized by a different vertebral structure. There are the 7 vertebral cervical vertebra, 12 thoracic vertebra, 5 lumbar vertebra, and 5 fused sacral vertebra, and 4 fused coccyx vertebra. Next is the sternum. There are 1 sternum bone of our body. The sternum is a partially T-shaped vertical bone that forms the anterior portion of the chest wall centrally. And there are 12 pairs of ribs and 1 hyoid bones. Next and last axial skeleton or axial bone is the ear ossicles. The middle ear consists of the tympanic membrane and the bony ossicles called the malleus, incus, and stapes. These 3 ossicles connect the tympanic membrane to the inner ear, allowing for the transmission of sound waves. Skeleton. The appendicular skeleton is one of 2 major bone groups in the body, the other being the axial skeleton. The appendicular skeleton is comprised of the upper and lower extremities, which include the shoulder girdle and pelvic girdle. At first, the shoulder girdle. It connects the upper limbs to the bones along the axis of the human body. It consists of 2 bones that make up shoulder. These are the clavicle and scapula. There are 2 scapula and 2 clavicle in our body, left and right sides. The clavicle and the scapula. Next is the upper extremity or upper limb. The upper extremity is a functional unit of the upper body. It consists of 3 sections. The upper limb consists of 3 sections: the upper arm, the forearm, and the hand. It extends from shoulder joint to the fingers. and contains 30 bones. At each sides there are one humerus, one ulna, one radius, 8 carpal bones, 5 metacarpal bones, and 14 phalangeal bones are present. Next is the pelvic girdle. Pelvic girdle is a ring-like bony structure located in the lower part of the trunk. It connects the axial skeleton to the lower limbs. The pelvic girdle is formed by 2 hip bones with sacrum and coccyx. The 2 hip bones join together or attach together and as anteromedial aspect, which is called pelvic symphysis. The lower extremity or the lower limb, the lower part of the body extended from hip to the toes. It includes the hip, knee and ankle joints and the bones of the thigh, leg and foot. The lower limb contains 30 bones. At each side there are present one femur, one patella, one tibia and fibula, 7 tarsal bones, 5 metatarsal bones and 14 phalangeal bones. The acetabulum of the hip bone and the head of the femur make the hip joint. The lower part of the or epicondyle of the femur and patella and the tibia is formed the knee joint, and the lower part of the leg bones and tarsal bones are together form the ankle joint. This video is the overview of the skeleton system.